Oh, hi there. Today, I want to start a new segment on the stupid points made in the TV show Elementary, starring Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy Liu. The episode I'm going to talk about today is called The Art of Sleights and Deception. Overall, it was not bad episode to watch. I've kind of gone in and out of watching Elementary. I go through phases really, where I will watch quite a bit of it, and other ones where I spend some weeks or even months and not watch it. Because I had periodically noticed stupid things about certain episodes. I'm not sure why they include them in there. I'm sure there's a point to it. I mean, the way Johnny Lee Miller portrays Sherlock, these are glaring facts that he would obviously see if he were, the viewer watching this episode or any of the other episodes. He'd be able to see this point and it would be no problem for him. But us as the viewers are watching this and we're seeing these stupid things that have been put in the episode, I'm going to say probably intentionally. I don't know if it's to encourage the viewers to actually think a little bit as they're watching Elementary, not just watch an intelligent TV show and think that makes them smarter, and because they have an ego, maybe they're watching the show, they feel smarter and they don't notice the stupid things about it because all their intelligence is all ego. So anyway, I'll start off with this. The first stupid thing I noticed about this episode was Sherlock went to a private back room where illegal poker was being played. Not at that time, but he knew that's where one of their suspects, or actually no, the dead guy, that's right, the dead guy, Razor, had played poker. And the thing is, he walks in there, right, and he just walks straight to the back room, and I mean, you can't really judge a book by its cover, but I suppose you can in some circumstances, because the guy who ran the furniture shop, I mean, I guess that was the front for the poker in the back room. There's no way he would have let Johnny Lee Miller walk back there. For one thing, the door probably would have been locked, and it would have been a scene. And that's, assuming he doesn't go, "Hey, you're not allowed back here." Which is more likely what would have happened, rather than Johnny Lee Miller walking in there and him being like, "No, don't go there. You're not allowed to be there. What are you doing here? I'm gonna call the police." Yeah, sure. That's how that little scene would have went down. Yeah, I could just imagine that. Yes, very stupid. I'm sure it was presented that way on purpose to maybe challenge viewers to note upon it being stupid. I don't know why it was put there, man. I watched the episode once, so. Well, the Marcus Bell, he gets framed. Basically, someone files a complaint against him that was fraudulent, and he was put up to do it by someone who didn't like him by the name of Roy Booker, another police officer. And again, you kind of don't want to judge a book by its cover, but well, you kind of can in this circumstance. Roy Booker had befriended the person who he got to do the job for him, which was framing Detective Marcus Bell. And by the looks of that black guy, he would only have been using that white guy. It's not racist to point that out. That's just the fact. He had that distinct look about him that he didn't like white people. I'm not implying that Marcus Bell is also like that, because I don't think that's entirely true. But this Roy Booker, the guy who plays him, his name is Robert Christopher Riley. He didn't look like you could trust him to even contemplate doing anything like that with him. No. That guy had to be a special kind of stupid to have gone along with that. Absolutely moronic. Well, also, Razor was the magician who got murdered in the first part of the episode, and he was murdered because it looked as though he was going to expose the particular book was written by a Nazi. And not that I think that's really strong enough motivation for murder. I mean, that guy was obviously well off. What was his name? Here, I got IMDb on. His name was Ballard Clifton in the episode, and the guy who played him was Jason Butler Harner. Not a very convincing actor, I must say. Yeah, anyway, supposedly he picked his lock and put phosphorus or something like that on the bullet that he used as a magic trick. It sounded a little bit limp to me for a reason, but you gotta go along with it because it's a TV show. But anyway, another book that got put into this was a Nazi book on the anatomy of corpses and things like that. And it had the references and the way the book was talked about it, total Jewish propaganda, Jewish slant on everything. For one thing, they associated any German memorabilia or anything of the sort with, bam, it's as bad as this book about the anatomy of corpses and things like that. And I collect German memorabilia a little bit. I have a small collection, and no, they're not the same thing. Not at all. You're comparing apples to oranges. They're really two different things. So I didn't like the moral high ground that they played. Primarily it was Lucy Liu and Marcus Bell. Coincidentally, a Chinese woman and a black man. People who have no right to talk about racism based on their race. No right at all. Yeah, there are no racist black people out there. There are no racist Chinese people out there. Yeah, fuck off. And I didn't really like Johnny Lee Miller, his approach on it. He was all like, "Oh, I read this disgusting book and blah 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 blah," and he was going on about because there was a scene earlier on when they're looking in Razor's house for clues or whatever, and He found, what was that? Oh, he found a medieval torture device, an Iron Maiden. It was probably a replica or something like that, I don't know. And then he made the quote, or he said, "Oh, I'm surprised he doesn't have a Judas Cradle, or he would admire having one or something." So on one hand, he's going on about, oh, this Nazi book is horrible and things like that, but he has intimate knowledge of the Judas Cradle, and he knew it right off the bat. And it's like, because sometimes you know things, it's in the back of your head, right? But like, you know, it takes a few minutes to think of it. But no, just like that, he immediately brought it up. And let's not forget that the Johnny Lee Miller version of Sherlock, in an episode, I can't remember which one, I believe it was one with Moriarty and the apartment he had in London or something like that. They make reference to him having a shrunken head. He had a real shrunken head. They made it a point to say it was a real shrunken head. So this, you know, this version of Sherlock, he's you know, he's a bit of a creep, to be honest with you, as well. And Lucy Liu obviously associates with him, her being Watson and all that. So she's in on all that too. So there's this cloud of deception. In real life, these people have intimate knowledge of all this horrible stuff, and they're desensitized to it. They're not morally superior to, you know, some guy who collects helmets. They're not. They'll act like they are, and they'll demonize you and chastise you and point the finger at you and call you all the bad names under the sun, but they're total hypocrites. Because the equivalent of Sherlock in the real world, and there are various ones, some more successful than others, are actually, in a lot of ways, they're assholes. It's a fact. I mean, I'm sure in some ways they're nice, but for the most part, they're probably assholes and unpleasant people. Which gets to my another stupid point that I wanted to bring up. Aidan Quinn, who he plays the captain. Basically, they figured out that the guy who got put up to do the job, framing Detective Bell, they say, alright, we're offering you a lifeline, recant your previous statement, and some vague notion of it being better for him. That guy, I think he does do that in the episode, but that would be an incredibly moronic thing to do. For one thing, the captain would barefaced lie to him. He totally would. Because he wants to get them both, because he tried framing Detective Bell, and obviously Aidan Quinn, the captain, isn't going to take that very kindly. And anytime they say, oh, don't get your lawyer, you don't need one, or anything along those lines, fuck them. You can't trust them. Can never trust them. They don't have your interest in mind. And for that guy, the intelligent thing for him to have done would have been said, I'm getting my lawyer, and screw you guys. Or don't even say that, but just, him go get his lawyer. Don't make it easy for him. If he's got you, but don't make it easy for him. Well, this is partially the dumb things I noticed in elementary, and there was actual deception on how the story was told and how it would actually really go down in real life. Starting with that, shady poker dealer. That whole backroom thing would not have been quick and clean and quiet like it was in this episode of Elementary. I realize Johnny Lee Miller has to wrap things up rather quickly, but that's bullshit. And I think a fair amount of people out there who watch this show would not notice that. In fact, even my dad didn't really notice that. And I looked at this and I was able to read it. I was able to understand it and go, that's stupid. That's not how it is at all. I mean, I'm just criticizing the writing on Elementary. They have produced a lot of good episodes and meaningful content. But I had noticed that there are stupid things, and this is part of the segment I want to make on the stupid things about Elementary. I also want to make an episode on a segment on Murdoch, because I really like Murdoch, but I don't think it's historically accurate in more ways than you would think. I don't mean just like the crazy inventions and things like that. I mean the character of Murdoch himself. I think he was a real nasty piece of work in real life. Back when that show is set, that character would have been a very vicious man. And yeah, well, that'll have to be for another episode. Anyway, The Art of Sleights and Deception, worth watching. I've watched it once, and I probably won't watch it again for quite a while. I've rubbed it off on my PVR, so I mean, when it goes back to reruns and it's back on in a few months' time, I suppose I'll watch it again if I have the time, if I feel like it or whatever. Maybe. But I'm going to carry on with this segment because I'm sure there are more stupid things in future episodes of Elementary. Oh, this one aired in April, by the way. April 23rd, so not that long ago. But I've only just watched it, because as you know, I was in the States for a few weeks, so I didn't have time to watch shows, and now I got a backlog on my PVR. So anyway, I would recommend watching it, and just keep your eyes open, and if you notice something stupid, then make a note in your head. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much what I got. So, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.